One, two, one, two, one, two. Here we go. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast, raw, real, and unedited. My name is Jason. Yes, it is. And guess what? You can find Catalyst at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You can hear this podcast created through Spreaker on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, and Amazon. A catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that's what this podcast will do. Now, if you would like to be a part of this podcast as a guest or contributor, you can email us at catalystmotivation561@gmail.com, catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 35. Episode 35. All right, so we've been using some parables to kind of tell some stories, and I want to continue on with that. So, the main purpose right now, if I really have to think about this when it comes to the podcast, is we really want to delve into the depths of human experience through stories and insight, right? Tell us what your catalyst is, or what was that piece that helped to make that difference. What was that catalyst that kind of turned the table? And today's journey is going to be a parable about ego. All right, so let's kind of dive into that and talk about it. Ego, is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? What's your take on it? Send us an email, catalystmotivation561@gmail.com, okay? But let's go on and tell this story. Once upon a time in a bustling city, there lived a man named Leo. Leo was an accomplished artist renowned for his exquisite paintings that captured the essence of life itself. He painted not for fame or fortune, but for the sheer joy of creation. Yet as his fame grew, so did something else, his ego. Leo's ego whispered sweet praises into his ear, convincing him that he was the greatest artist of all time. He began to believe that he was above criticism, above improvement. His ego blinded him to the flaws of his work. For how could the work of a genius ever be flawed? Oof. Man, oh man, oh man. You can already see where this is going, and you can already understand what we're talking about here. You see it all the time. You see it in your social groups. You see it on social media. You see it in sports. You see it in music. You see it everywhere. All right. One day, a young artist approached Leo seeking guidance. She admired his work and hoped to learn from his wisdom. But instead of offering her sincere advice, Leo dismissed her, scoffing at her naivety. His ego couldn't bear the thought of sharing the spotlight with another. How many people do we know that when it comes to sharing the spotlight with their ego? We're hearing about it right now with Usher and Jay-Z and Beyonce and all these things that are going on. We hear it in sports, how somebody's a prima donna, things like that, right? So as time went on, Leo's ego grew heavier, weighing him down like an anchor. He became isolated and unable to connect with others beyond the superficial praise they showed upon him. His art suffered, becoming stale and lifeless, devoid of passion that once fueled his creativity. We've seen that happen so many times. I'm watching an interesting show called Capote and the Swans, and Truman Capote's career definitely encompassed his ego and how his ego prevented him from probably being even a greater literary artist than what he's known for. He could have reached ridiculous heights. But again, we allow our ego to kind of destroy that. How many VH1 behind the musics do we have to see? Or how many artists, new and upcoming artists, have to watch those to not fall prey to those traps? And the traps are there, and you think you can avoid them, and you think you can get over them, but yet here they are, right? So again, Leo's art suffered, becoming stale and lifeless, devoid of passion that he once fueled his creativity. But then one day, as Leo sat alone in his studio, a realization dawned upon him. like the first light of dawn. He saw the destructive force that his ego had become and how it blinded him to the beauty of humility and the power of growth. With a heavy heart, he set out on a journey to reclaim his true self. Along the way, Leo encountered many challenges that tested his resolve. He faced criticism with grace, using this as fuel to improve rather than a dagger to wound his pride. Right? For him, it wasn't about, hey, listen, this criticism is a teaching moment. It's a teaching moment. It's not somebody trying to poke holes in who I am and make me less of who I am. It's a way for me to learn and grow and develop and become something bigger and better than what I am. Or just to teach me that maybe I'm heading off true north and I need to get back on true north. Right? So it was a fuel for him rather than a dagger to wound his pride. He embraced collaboration, learning from others and sharing his own knowledge freely. And most importantly, he let go of the need for validation, finding joy in the act of creation itself. So let us reflect on this tale of Leo and his ego. For in our own lives, we too may grapple with the seductive allure of pride and self importance. But like Leo, we have the power to choose humility, to embrace growth, and to find true fulfillment in the simple act of being. All right. So I'd like to leave you with this simple exercise. Okay. Take a moment to reflect on a recent experience where your ego may have hindered your growth or connection with others. What lessons can you glean from that experience? And how might you approach similar situations differently in the future? Hmm? So think of a time when that ego of yours may have prevented you from growing or connecting with others. What lessons did you get from it? Sorry about that. A lot of people thought, now we have to, I want to take a step away for a minute because a lot of times when people are putting a focus on things, people might see that as ego. But a lot of times, like, especially like in my example, I became unbelievably selfish. And I became selfish for a reason because I was trying to heal my body, mind, and spirit. Was that necessarily ego? No. It was about doing what was best for me and taking out the things that I didn't need in my life nor wanted in my life and focusing on what I want to build on. So we really need to make sure we're defining ego correctly, right? Because your passion and desire and laser focus can sometimes be perceived as ego when it really, really isn't. It's about you wanting to be the best you can be and focusing on the things that you need to focus on. And, sometimes people will take it in the wrong way. And, you know, we just have to be aware of that and prepare for it. And, sometimes we need a wake up call because maybe that focus can turn into obsession of oneself and ego. For me, it was really important that I recognize that. And sometimes, it can be an issue. And, I caught myself on several occasions in my life, not really during my cancer, but at least in my life where I might have achieved a certain peace, a brief moment in the spotlight, and all of a sudden here I am now really kind of, putting myself in a place where I didn't need to belong. And ego's not inherently good or bad. It's how we choose to wield it, to control it that matters. By embracing our strengths, cultivating self confidence, and staying true to our values, we can harness the power of ego to achieve extraordinary things in our life. Author Ryan Holiday once wrote, ego is the enemy of what you want and what you have, of mastering a craft, of real creative insight, of working well with others, of building loyalty and support, of longevity, of repeating and retaining your success. So, what have we learned from all this? It's clear that ego, when harnessed correctly, can be a powerful tool for achieving our goals and realizing our full potential. However, it's essential to strike balance between confidence and humility and avoid crossing the lines into arrogance. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was known for a strong sense of ego and vision. His relentless pursuit of perfection and his refusal to settle for mediocrity revolutionized the tech industry and forever changed the way we interact with technology. All right. Take Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Her unwavering self-confidence and belief in her abilities have propelled her to being one of the all-time greats. Despite facing numerous setbacks and challenges throughout her career, she continued to push herself to new heights, driven by ego and determined to be the best. Jung once said that the greatest, most important problem in life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. This quote speaks to the idea that ego, when properly managed, can drive a person's personal growth and self-improvement. So, with that being said about ego, I think it's time for us to wrap it up and call it an episode. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if you'd like to be part of this podcast as a guest or contributor, you can email us at catalystmotivation561@gmail.com. This is the Catalyst Podcast, raw, real, and unedited. My name is Jason, and you can find us at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You can hear the podcast created through Spreaker on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, and Amazon. A catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope this what this podcast will do. I want to thank you all so much for listening. All three of you brighten up my days and make me happy all over. Thanks so much for listening to the Catalyst Podcast. Thank you for listening to episode 35. We'll see you on episode 36. Thank you so much. Go be great.